Hello, I'm Mbweha, you can call me Ben, of Team Relentless, and this is The Playbook, YouTube's most popular Star Wars Legion series known for making completely unsubstantiated claims. Today we're talking about Turn 1 explosions.
You've got mail.
Not again. You've got to be kidding me. Dear Mbweha, you can call me Ben. I heard you were doing a Playbook episode about Sabine Rem's 1-pip card explosions on Turn 1. I wanted to let you know that using explosions on a later turn, often turn 2 or 3, is much more likely to generate more damage and suppression. So the strategy you're teaching is clearly inferior. Please don't spread misinformation among players. Sincerely, Darth Jar Jar 420. You know what, Darth Jar Jar 420? Just wait one moment. Turn 1 explosions, Darth Jar Jar 420. Suck on that. So I'm gonna be real honest with you. I didn't think this idea was gonna work. I was headed to an RPQ and already had my Worlds invite, so I wanted to try something different and fun. I'd get to play the X34 Landspeeder or Sabine, so I put them both on my table and started messing with how far I could move Sabine when she was loaded into the speeder as opposed to her 3-speed move. I soon discovered that Sabine can drop bombs so dang far away when she's running Scattergun in the speeder. How dang far? So dang far. She can hit a unit with explosions on turn 1 beyond range 4. That dang far.
Copy that. This is gonna be fun.
So let's talk about what to do with that. Number 1, X34 Upgrades. To pull this off, you need an X34 Landspeeder. There are 2 builds that you can go with on the speeder. The super decked out, ready to knock the socks off your opponent version, or the practically naked so you can spend those points somewhere else version. The big bada boom version is an outer rim speeder jockey, the RPS 6 rocket gunner, the Mark II medium blaster, and an HQ uplink for turn 1 activation control.
Big, bada big boom.
This version allows the speeder to be a significant threat to your enemy's army, even after it's performed its primary role of dropping Sabine off on turn 1. It comes in at 165 points. The other version is Ryder Azadi, an A300 rifle gunner and an HQ uplink for turn 1 activation control. This version actually extends your threat range of turn 1 explosions by 2 inches because of the pilot upgrade. After turn 1, it just zooms around as a suppression machine that gets in the way of where enemy troops might want to go. It clocks in at just 99 points. So you do you on which version you want to use, but for what it's worth, I won the RPQ with the decked out version. Oh, I should note, I won the RPQ right before the points rebalance. I've linked my list in the description for the sake of historicity, but it's no longer tournament legal. The other lists I'm linking, however, do account for the points rebalance and are tournament legal, or will be when all of the upgrade cards in them are released. Moving on. Number 2, Sabine's upgrades. The only thing that you have to take is emergency stems, and in fact, that's all I recommend taking. I thought originally that I might want Sabine with a Darksaber so that she could lock herself into melee combat, deal a bunch of melee damage, and be safe from incoming fire, but in practice, that just wasn't happening. Earlier versions of the list did include the personal combat shield on Sabine, but it's been subbed out for the HQ uplink on the X34, which is, faux show, better. Number 3, deployment. Deploy core troops until you identify a good target for your boom boom. What's a good target? In this case, it's troopers that are going to be headed for an objective that you plan on contesting. Side note, if you're playing Breakthrough, you're instead looking for lanes that you expect your opponent to move through on their way to your deployment zone. As soon as you have your target, drop your X34. There's a good chance that your opponent will respond to the threat of the land speeder pointed right at them by deploying even more troops into that same boom boom area. This is great for you. People are really not going to be expecting you to play turn 1 explosions. Once the X34 is down, continue deployment as normal, but saving Sabine for very last. Drop her into the speeder and watch your opponent get more confused than a decapitated protocol droid that's just had its head reattached to a B1 battle droid.
I'm so confused.
Also, if you screwed up at some point during your deployment, you can always bail and put Sabine somewhere else and do the more standard turn 2 or 3 explosions. Sure, you'll be boring and I'll visit you in your nightmares for the foreseeable future as punishment, but life, you know? Number 4, turn 1 explosions. Alright, this is what it's all about. Play explosions on turn 1, which of course gives an order to Sabine. Then use the HQ uplink to get an order to the X34. Play the rest of your turn like normal, but save the X34 and Sabine for very last. When you're down to your last 2 activations, activate the X34 first. Perform its compulsory move in the most expeditious way that you can towards your preferred target. Then don't move again or Sabine will only have one action. Your compulsory move is a standard move, so if you perform a second one, all Sabine can do is disembark, and she won't be able to drop her bombs, which was the whole point. Use the speeder's 2 actions to aim and fire at something that looks fun to shoot at. If you intend to blow the bombs on turn 1, then you may consider splitting fire from your various weapons to generate more suppression. Your next and final activation is Sabine. Disembark in a way that will allow Sabine to use her second action to drop her bombs in a place that will threaten both enemy troopers and protect key objectives. Then use Sabine's free 1-speed move to get out of the blast area. Ideally, you'll be able to move into heavy cover or even out of line of sight entirely. Who knows, maybe you can even base one of the boxes if you're playing Recover the Supplies. So the next big question, when do you push the plunger? In general, if your bombs will hit 3 or more enemy trooper units, it's probably boom boom time. However, one of these bombs' greatest threats is primarily psychological. You're forcing your opponent to make a hard decision, either avoid a tactically vital part of the board or walk directly into a trap. It's a win-win-win situation for you. So yeah, if you want to blow things up right away, go for it. But it's my preference to leave the bombs down to discourage my opponent from approaching a key area of the board. Remember, you could also just blow one bomb and save the other for later if that's what floats your boat. In the end, you'll need to read the board state and gauge what's best given the objectives and the positioning of the armies on the board. Number 5, turns 2 and 3. On turn 2, I like to play Symbol of Hope. It lets you get your graffiti token right in the mess of things, where its effects are more likely to be felt. If you saved your bombs, it's one more threat sitting in that area that's saying to your opponent, sure, move up to that objective. I'm sure it'll be fine. You'll just take a bunch of suppression and a little bit of damage, and oh yeah, see that graffiti token? You'll just roll 1 fewer die during your rally step, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Hopefully you're beginning to see how you can really get in your opponent's head with this opener. Symbol of Hope also gives an order to Sabine, so if she's in a hot spot, you can GTFO right away. Or if she's relatively safe, you can wait for an opportunity to move and use Gunslinger. By turn 3, it's probably time to play a card from one of your other commanders. Based on the list that I suggested in the description, it probably means it's time for Coordinated Bombardment. But in the end, you'll have to look at the board and decide what's best for you given the state of things. Bonus! Remember during deployment to leave plenty of space for the X34 to deploy around your other units. Speaking from experience, it does not feel good to accidentally block the placement of your X34. Remember that the final position of a compulsory move with the repulsor vehicle can displace non-engaged, non-creature troopers. Remember to use your stims and a med droid to keep Sabine alive as long as possible so you can boom boom pow at just the right time. Once she's in a position where she might take fatal damage, be sure to push that plunger before your opponent makes an attack. Remember that after your X34 has performed its primary task of being a Sabine Delivery System, it can fly around and be a real pain in the arse for your opponent. You basically want to fly it like a T-47, which you can learn about in a previous episode. Summary! Let's review. Number 1, bring an X34 with an uplink. Number 2, bring Sabine with E-stems.
Number 3, deploy Sabine last into the speeder, which is already pointed right at a bunch of troopers. Number 4, on turn 1, play Explosion, saving the X34 and Sabine for last.
And number 5, strongly consider a turn 2 Symbol of Hope into a turn 3 Coordinated Bombardment. Now you know about my super secret turn 1 explosions tech. I hope it works for you as well as it worked for me. If you do try it out, comment in the video about how it went. Also, if you liked the video, there's a button for that. And subscribe if you're into that sort of thing. I'm Mbweha, you can call me Ben from Team Relentless, and this has been the Playbook, Turn 1 Explosions.